Matt Arnold has revealed the wild truth behind one specific trade at this trade deadline for the Milwaukee Brewers, all because of Jackson Chourio. We're going to be breaking it down, going over what this trade entails and what this means going forward for the Milwaukee Brewers, as well as another set of multiple moves the Brewers have made to accustom for all of these new additions here at this year's trade deadline. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it, though, ladies and gentlemen, your guys' support has been absolutely incredible as of late, and we're getting all your Milwaukee Brewers news still throughout the rest of the season, into the postseason, and then into the offseason, and we know that just over 98% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. Let's try and get this percentage as low as possible, so if you're looking for your Brewers news, join the channel and hit the sub button. I'm going to have it all here for you guys, but we need to jump straight into this, as multiple reports are coming out regarding a Jackson Chourio injury that we saw a few days ago. Didn't come back in the next game, and now we're expecting an IL stint. And Matt Arnold had a few quotes about this, coming over why this move and why these set of moves were made at this trade deadline. He says, with a hamstring injury, we're going to be cautious there. This is coming from Matt Arnold via MLB.com about Jackson Chourio. He says, so it's probably going to be a little bit longer than we had initially anticipated. We're not expecting anything excessive, but we just want to be super patient with a player at the caliber of Jackson Chourio. So Matt Arnold has come out and said that, this injury is a little bit more than we expected. However, we're taking our time. We're not going to rush him in, and this is why the Milwaukee Brewers went out and got Brandon Lockridge. And we're going to jump into some more quotes here in a minute. Before we do kind of go into that, though, I wanted to go and really just go through what we're seeing. And looking at this outfield now, of course, with Jackson Chourio at center field, really after Blake Perkins and Brandon Lockridge, who, of course, was recently acquired. Only 50 or so, really a handful of MLB games, but the Milwaukee Brewers really believe in him. We're going to jump into a quote here from Matt Arnold here in a moment, going over why he thinks that Brandon Lockridge is the guy. But, of course, when you're coming to this, it really does seem like Brandon Lockridge can fit into this role for this Milwaukee Brewers team, at least for the time being. Of course, we don't know yet if Jackson Chourio will be going on the IL. All reports are indicating, and even Matt Arnold there in that quote really thinks his stint is coming. But whether it's a 7-day, 15-day, let's hope 15-day is the absolute maximum, because when we do come into it, we know that he's been an integral part of this team with, a very heavy schedule coming up where the Cubs, you want to see him back before that series there in specific. But really, as soon as possible will be the big thing coming up with Washington, Atlanta, New York, the Mets, that is, Pirates, Reds, and then the Cubs, the doubleheader there on Monday. And that's going to be a big series that we're going to need to see him back for. So hopefully things are going well, and I think that's kind of hovering the Matt Arnold plan right now. But jumping into that secondary quote from Matt Arnold based on Brandon Lockridge, he says they plan to put him in the Major League roster right away. He says he's a premium athlete, a guy that fits us very well athletically and will fit in very well on a Pat Murphy style of team. Adding somebody like Lockridge and his athleticism should definitely help us there, and obviously we'll miss Chourio, but for hopefully a short amount of time here. So even Matt Arnold kind of acknowledging he's going to be out for a little while. We don't know just yet how long it will be, but the shorter the better, of course, especially with this upcoming schedule, with how good he's been swinging the bat. And I mean, there's no surprise how good he's been swinging the bat, as all the anticipation is finally here after last year. In 106 games this year, 276 average, and a 786 OPS. He's been playing phenomenal, 2.3 WAR, and even keeping up with last year. That's exactly what we're hoping from him. And with 17 bombs this year, he's been one of our more power bats and one of the biggest power bats that we've had. And especially now, not adding at this deadline in terms of power, we're going to need to see him back as soon as possible with that bat being swung the way it's been so far this year. But Brandon Lockridge in center field will be an interesting one. Of course, they probably will shift things around. Whether he starts center field or not will yet to be determined. And, of course, kind of going back to what we're looking at with Brandon Lockridge, I mentioned in last video when he did get traded and the absolute robbery it was for a player to be named, for Nestor Cortez. It's a very good deal in terms of, shipping out a guy, likely won't be back next year, with the perspective of having Brandon Lockridge coming to this lineup. And this trade really screams, at least, what we knew, that we wouldn't see Jackson Chourio be back just yet. This trade really screams that we need another outfielder to put in, and I think they really hand-chose who they wanted here, and especially what Brandon Lockridge will bring to the table, what Matt Arnold is saying, that he will fit very well in a Pat Murphy style of squad. I think this works out very well. But I do want to jump into his stats very quick as well, because when we do go and take a look through his major league stints, which have only been a handful of games, as I mentioned there, from last year and this year, he hasn't been necessarily the greatest player. A 216 average this year in 47 games, 95 plate appearances, a 519 OPS. Not really the guy you're hoping to see there, but he is very, very quick. And you go back to his AAA and AA numbers a couple of years ago, you're seeing 45, 49, 46, RBIs there. Pretty well swinging the bat down there. 298, 230, not great, but 296. He's been pretty solid over those few seasons, and also going to his stolen bases. He is a very, very quick guy, and especially the 40, 46 season there, you really can't blame those. And he is a 99 percentile in speed from Baseball Savant, so we're knowing what kind of guy we're getting out of here. We don't need him to be swinging the bat like Jackson Chourio, as long as he's able to go play the field well, play center field, left field, wherever we may put him. I think we got a very good guy here in exchange for someone who wasn't going to be on this roster in a very, very full rotation anyways. So I think this trade ultimately came out to be a very interesting one when it comes down to it, because we now know the reason this trade was made. Not just trying to get Mr. Cortez out, as that's been reported before, but who they brought in specific seemed very, very intentional from this Milwaukee Brewers team. Now, I also did want to pull up one more thing before we do finish this video off, as the Brewers have made multiple moves coming into today and also the past few days, as they've now had to change up the roster a bit, and the 40-man to bring in the people they did here at this year's trade deadline. I want to pull up this. Now in response to the moves, the Brewers reportedly have designated relievers Brian Hudson and Elvis Peguero for assignment, shared today by Todd Rosiak of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. So Brian Hudson was one name that we've spoken about as a potential trade option here at this deadline, and there was something in me saying that, Matt Arnold may have tried to move him. Nobody really may have wanted him, so just to clear space, you knew he was going to be going anyway. So Brian Hudson released, DFA'd, I should say, and Elvis Peguero as well. So this just makes some more room for Shelby Miller and also, some other names that will be coming into this lineup. Of course, Shelby Miller is on the 15-day IL at this point, so they needed to clear up a bit of space to get him into this roster before, he gets healthy, which will soon be, ultimately in the next couple of days, we expect. We do have another kind of quote here coming over from that and going over what the plan is from RotoWire. Miller's been on the shelf since July 7th with a strained right forearm, but after turning a 1.98 ERA and a 0.96 whip in 36.1 innings with Arizona, he'll most likely take on a high leverage role in Milwaukee's bullpen once healthy. Miller recently resumed throwing the bullpen sessions and should soon face hitters again before likely heading on a brief minor league rehab assignment prior to being activated from the 15-day IL. So we kind of get an idea now as well what Shelby Miller's timeline is going to be. We didn't know just yet, but coming from RotoWire, we now know that it will be pretty soon at this point. And with the moves that have been made over the past few days as well, going from as early as Danny Jansen, sending Eric Haas down to the Nashville Sound, and getting Jordan Montgomery. Of course, that was just to kind of make sure we didn't have to give up a prospect for Shelby Miller, which was a phenomenal deal. Brandon Lockridge, Jose Quintana. It makes it seem like this Brewers team actually did some very interesting moves, as Matt Arnold did say that, hey, I'm not really trying to change this lineup. We like what we have, and ultimately, it's working out. So let me know what you think about this Jackson Chourio update. Bringing Brandon Lockridge in, or do you think it may be someone else? Of course, he will be in the major leagues. We don't know yet if he will start, however. So let me know what you think there. You comfortable with that, even though he's only played 60 or so MLB games instead of Jackson Chourio? Of course, gotta let him sit, gotta get him healthy before the postseason, so let me know what you think there. But like I said, that's all I got. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.